Welcome back, everybody, to the Healthy Habit Podcast, episode number 253. I'm your host of the podcast. My name is Dr. Dejan Matijevic at Healthy Habit Medical Center, located right inside Healthy Habit Health Foods at 6029 North 7th Street, Uptown Phoenix. And we're ready to go here today on 253 with Dr. Gaetano Morello, fellow naturopathic physician who I'm excited to speak with here today. He's a published author as well, and he's a clinician at the newly created Complex Chronic Disease Program located at British Columbia Women's Hospital in Vancouver, Canada. He's the first naturopathic doctor to hold such a position at a major North American hospital. And I'm excited to talk with him here today, all things immune system. Since we're in the winter months now, it's getting colder. Last time we had Dr. Morello on was 198, episode 198, where we highlighted the mitochondria, the aging process, what we can do to help slow down that aging process and things that can cause mitochondrial dysfunction as we move through life. And we highlighted the RegenerLife mitochondrial support product through Natural Factors, which is the company we'll be highlighting here today, and how they can help us with the immune system. Dr. Gaetano, welcome back.
Well, nice to be back. It's been how many? 50 episodes, eh?
Yes, that's right. 55 episodes later, here we are. So I'm glad you came back to educate us some more. You got a good extensive library behind you here today. It's all going to come into this wisdom that we're about to receive. How have you been on your end? How is it clinically? How is
Yeah,
it
it's
here?
been
How are you?
it's very busy. There's so many people with complex chronic diseases. Now we have even the long COVID group, which is a new group, and that's people that have similar symptomology than the ones that we treat. The fatigue, the post-exertion malaise, the cognitive dysfunction in the form of brain fog and memory loss, the IBS symptoms, the pain sometimes, uh, the inability to get refreshing sleep. So these individuals can't sleep properly. And so there's a lot of symptomology that goes along. And so this is a new group that we're treating
Right,
as well. So it's becoming more and more common. Again, a lot of these are mitochondrial based, and there's also an immune component to these conditions as well. The immune system plays a big role in all this. So it's kind of, it's appropriate that we speak about the immune system today.
100%. And both of us are, clinicians, but we're not going to be giving any formal medical advice here today. We'll do our best not to go into any specific conditions and protocols and things of that nature. We're just giving you guys some simple education and some things that you can look into on your own and that we carry here at Healthy Habit, and that you can even run by your own physician if you are established with a doctor. We're just giving this for educational purposes only. So, how should somebody prepare, Dr. Gaetano, for the winter season? How can we keep our immune system strong
Well,
so to
you know,
avoid getting sick here? A lot of people are getting sick this time of year.
yeah, so there's always been, why do we get sick in the winter months, right? So that's one of the questions that people ask. And so we have to look at it. What is it the coldness? What is it exactly?
Right,
Does cold weather do something to us? Well, yeah, one of the things it does to us is it puts us indoors. And when we're indoors, we're more exposed to more people and bacteria and viruses, right?
right.
So this is one of the reasons why
That's
we
true.
see more of these conditions. Also, the winter months, there's more stress on the body to deal with various things that go on in the winter. We're not as relaxed as we are in the summer, so that stress uh, puts a strain on the gut, as we know as naturopaths, and that pressure on the gut creates some immune dysfunction. So we often talk about the gut holding, 70% of our immune system. And so if that's the case, and we're causing stress there, does that impact the way our immune system works? And the answer is yes, it does. And
Right,
therefore, if that's the case, we're going to be more susceptible to, getting or acquiring various viruses in the winter months.
wow. Yeah, that's 100%. A lot of people don't realize by supporting your gut health, that'll go a long way in helping your immune system health. They want
Yeah.
to just take vitamin C, which is important, zinc, but what's going on in your gut, right? What kind of foods are you eating to put strain and stress on the gut health that can weigh you down and help or impair that whole immune system? So, what about aging in general? How does that factor into immune system health? Like this concept of immunosenescence. I know you love speaking on aging. Aging is an important thing. So, tell us about
Well,
this.
if you think about it, so how does aging, and it's true, I mean, if you look at age context, you'll see that as you get older, you're going to get more conditions. Um, it is what it is in that sense. So why is that? So what's the bottom line? Well, for one, there is an alteration in the microbiome as we age for all sorts of different reasons. So that's one thing that happens. And then secondly, if every part of the body or every cell type in the body is a factory producing something. So if we have cells in the body that produce immune cells, uh, and those factories need energy to function. And as we get older, we lose more and more power or electricity in those cell types. Then they're not going to be producing optimal amounts of the things we need, and including immunoglobulins.
Right.
So that's one reason, a major reason. And there's other reasons, dietary alterations when you're consuming less protein, because protein is important for immunoglobulins production. The only thing your DNA makes is protein. So all these things are protein based. So you have to have proper nutrition. And sometimes as we age, our nutrition also drops as well. So those are two big problems.
Yeah, 100%. And yeah, we can do like a 3 hour series here on just the microbiome and nutrition and what foods that can help support a healthy mitochondria and aging process. But I do highly recommend, like I was mentioning earlier, that you guys check out 198 with Dr. Morello, where we did a deep dive there on the mitochondria. And there are mitochondria in the gut as well, Dr. Morello. Is that right? They're everywhere,
They're everywhere. So
right?
yeah, every cell in the body, with the exception of red blood cells, has hundreds, if not thousands, of mitochondria per cell. As a matter of fact, the
Interesting.
female oocyte has 100,000 mitochondria,
Wow.
which is so yeah, there is a lot of these energy producing factories in every cell of the body, and for good reason.
One of the classics we're going to dive into right here specifically for antiviral support, but it's called anti-V, but I'm sure it has other applications. We'll let Dr. Morello tell us for other types of infections potentially, maybe not just strictly viral, but we'll dive into a formula here called anti-V, which comes in liquid as well as soft gels. I'll do a screen share here. This is one of the classics here at Natural Factors, folks. The echinacea that's used in this formula is grown right there on the Natural Factors farm to create that echinamide, specifically clinically proven form of echinacea. Let's dive deep into this one, Dr. Morello. Tell us about anti-V, and I'll pull it up here on the screen.
Yeah, so it is as you actually you described it already perfectly. So it is as we know, echinacea has a long history of being utilized for immune function.
Yeah,
But unlike the pharmaceutical industry, where, I think one of the things that we can say about pharmaceuticals is if we were to prescribe erythromycin, you're probably going to get the same erythromycin no matter where you go in the pharmacies, uh, because it's, monitored, it's checked, and it's the same. In the nutraceutical industry, we have variabilities in the types of actives and compounds out there. So when you look at echinacea, not all echinaceas are created equally. They're not picked
right.
at the right time. They're not isolated in the right way. So this one is unique for a number of reasons. One, it's organic and it's grown, as you said, in the echinacea farms. I mean, yeah, the natural factor farms.
Right.
And they have an extraction process. It's a patented extraction that they do to isolate the echinamides, the active components in what makes the echinacea effective. And and then once those are isolated, they're placed in either capsules, soft gels, or they actually come even in chewable soft gels where you can the
Okay.
echinacea pop in your mouth. That's another one that they have, or liquid. And what's really the strongest part of all this is that this is one of the real first ones that has was clinically studied. So I think this is what really put natural factors on the map way, way back when they did the clinical research on this formulation and its impact on colds, flus, and can help in the prevention of
In
acquiring colds and flu because it stimulates the immune system. So if you can stimulate the immune system when your immune system is down, you have a greater chance of fighting viruses when they come in. So you're actually supporting the immune system. So this is when immune cells they're in the bloodstream, and the gut plays a role in them. When they're in the blood, this echinacea uplifts it. It makes them function better. So that's the advantage of this product. And I think it's, you always want to look at the clinical studies. That's the
right.
important.
And I like that you mentioned when in the winter, fall, winter months as it gets colder outside, one reason we get sick is not just because it's colder outside, but because we're inside more. We're not moving as much,
That's right.
right? Less not eating as well, like eating more of those comfort foods around Thanksgiving, Christmas, leftovers from Halloween, maybe people still eating the pies. But yeah, not moving as much as well is another issue that just popped into mind. So the immune system slows down, right? So
Right.
this is, you just mentioned stimulating the immune system. That might be a good idea. Again, we're not giving medical advice, but it might make sense if you're not moving as much to find another way to help stimulate, uplift that immune system. Is that one way to look at it, Dr. Murillo? What do you think?
That's right. Yeah, you got it. Yeah. Good
So
way of looking at it.
do you prefer liquid herbs? I know a lot of naturopathic doctors like the liquids over soft gels or capsules. Do you have a preference? Do you think one's more powerful than the other?
No, I don't, there is that thought process that a liquid is, but I don't
Right.
I, I don't think it probably I mean I have no okay, so let me get into my science side. I have no data showing that
Got it.
a capsule works better
Uh huh.
than a liquid form, right? I think in certain things they do, like cough syrups, usually they work better
Right.
from a liquid perspective, but we have no, and as you know, so many, medicines are all in soft gels or tablets or capsules.
Right.
Uh,
That's
the,
true.
the advantage of liquids is, just ease of taking them, right?
That's a
Uh,
really good point. Why would other
yeah.
pharmaceutical companies, when they need a direct medicine, they would do it in capsule? That's a good point. Tablets.
So,
So,
I don't think there is that, but,
right.
there's, some people don't want to take pills. So this is a great option to have a
Yeah.
liquid. And
Yeah.
so that's what I think for my, for my, and I don't have any evidence to prove either or, but
Right.
whatever, I always tell, patients, whatever works for you, well, let's do that.
It definitely feels more powerful because it's a liquid going directly in, and you feel that burn,
Yeah, right.
But that doesn't
Yeah,
necessarily mean it's clinically uh, making a difference, right?
yeah,
So
you're right. You're 100% right.
good point on that. So ekinamide is in here. That's a registered trademark version of echinacea. You guys can
Yeah.
Google that directly. You can type in ekinamide health and add the word scholar, and you'll see specific research on this form of echinacea instead of just echinacea benefits. This is a really, it's a trademark version of it. 8 to 1 aerial and root part here extract. You have reishi mushroom in there, lomatium, astragalus, and licorice. What's going to be separating this from other immune system formulas, Dr. Merlo? And like you mentioned, this is one of the originals here that put natural factors on the map.
Yeah, I think, there's something always to be said about original formulas
Right.
and the research into these formulas. And so when you have so what is the advantage of research? Well, the advantage of research is it can prove a point. So, and the research that was done was, it was as a blinded research. So, you give, a group of patients or a group of people, just a placebo. Well, there's really you might taste the same, but there's or capsule. You usually use it in capsule, right? Because liquid you can taste if it's a placebo.
Right.
And one of them has really nothing in it, and the other one has, the actual formula. And so by doing that, you really have a non-biased outcome because you can measure their ability to get colds and flus. You can measure the amount of immunoglobulin rise. Is there more activity in the macrophages? Is there more activity in the white blood cells? So these are the kinds of things that you can measure. And so what makes this product unique is I think firstly is the economide because it's only natural factors that has this
Mm-hmm.
activation. So that's
Right.
one unique. And then the combination of these other botanicals that are available to other groups as well. The way that they mix them together in the studies, really works. You got, mushrooms, which, mushrooms have a a really strong immune modulating effect
Right.
that is well versed. I'm a big mushroom believer. Like, you
Yeah.
know, there's a there was a really interesting study. So I did it on the last video I did, and so this study it was 19,000 people, and you might be aware of it. I'm not sure, and they found that those individuals that consumed three mushrooms a day. And I think it was the shiitake mushrooms that they tested. But I can't remember. I'm not 100% sure. I should
Okay.
look that up again. But 19,000, so 19,000 people, that's a big population base.
Yeah.
Uh, Three mushroom consumption a day, which is about 18 grams of mushrooms, they had a 46% reduction in cancer rates,
Yeah.
which is pretty crazy when you think about it. That's
It's almost half.
that's hard to believe. Uh, but that's pretty remarkable. So what was it doing? Like, wow. So that's something that your audience can go look up and find out about. And so that's one of the advantages of mushrooms. They really do have some incredible benefits, and
Incredible.
ratio. Yeah, yeah. Just they're hard to and they have no photosynthesis. They don't need sunlight,
Oh wow.
which is
Yeah.
pretty interesting, right? Most plants needs photosynthesis to produce energy. They don't. They're
Right.
they're they're a very unique fungi.
Unbelievable. Yeah, I mean, there's a reason why in traditional Chinese medicine they've been using mushrooms for thousands of years, right? As
You got
staple
it.
in their health protocols. So yeah,
Yeah,
that's one of the features here making anti-V unique. It has
yeah,
reishi mushroom, which they actually call the mushroom of immortality in a lot of their even in published research. That's like in the title, mushroom of immortality, reishi, and then the
yeah.
echinomide in there, a very specific form of echinacea. But then even lomatium, that's unique. That's not at all in a lot of immune system formulas. Do you have any
Yes.
thoughts on lomatium?
Yeah, it's another immune stimulating plant, and
Yeah,
with good clinical research in as an antiviral. So they've combined astragalus as well. I mean, astragalus is also used in as an antibiotic as well.
right.
So it has those applications, and then a licorice. Licorice has a soothing effect, but it also has some immune properties. So all
Yeah,
these plants, and what's interesting is, some of these are modulating plants. So in other words, they can increase the activity of certain white blood cells. But if the white blood cells are high, they sometimes can put them down, which is it's a nice thing to have as well, right? So it's just a really great product that I use myself. I don't know if you use it, but
oh,
I,
I've
I
used it. Yeah, I've definitely
I
gone through bottles, especially
yeah,
around
yeah,
Christmas, around that time, this time of year for sure.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
And I
totally.
think you were mentioning you have one right there with you.
What's that?
I
Sorry.
thought you were reaching for a bottle. You have one right there.
Yeah, no, no.
So
No,
you,
they have these chewable capsules of oil that I always
yeah,
have. Right, is it under here? But
one
it's not.
thing, one thing you mentioned, Dr. Morello, is that you've seen people use this even before getting sick,
Yeah,
because it has the immune modulating nutrients in there, like the
yeah. So
mushroom. It doesn't versus just straight up echinacea, which might be
yeah,
by itself.
yeah, exactly. So the combination is really good, and this is something you can take to try to prevent
Mm,
yourself from getting it. Why take it when you got the cold? The whole idea is to prevent it. Can we prevent getting sick? Uh, yeah, we can.
Amazing. Folks, Anti-V formula, the classic, one of the OGs here that put natural factors on the map. The echinacea comes straight from their farm there in British Columbia as organic echinamide, registered trademark version of echinacea, plus the lomatium, the reishi mushroom, astragalus, and licorice. We can spend an hour just on all those individual nutrients and all the history behind mushrooms and Chinese medicine and all that. So I appreciate you highlighting that, Dr. Morello. So tell us about oregano, oil of oregano. We'll finish on that, at least if we can cover two products. I love to hit at least two, just based on the time that we have. Two gives us enough time to cover each with good enough detail as a starting point for the listener and the consumer. Oil of oregano, super popular in the health food world, health food store. Customers looking for oil of oregano this time of year, starting in October, November through February, March. What are your thoughts on it? And I'll pull up another screen share of what Natural Factors offers. Tell us about an oil of oregano. Are you a fan?
Yeah, well, you know, it's got to be one of the most powerful compounds out there, and as you um, properly said, one of the most popular. It's really
Yeah.
popular, and so so okay, so popularity is one thing, but efficacy is another. Is it efficacious? That's the question, and the answer to that is absolutely, it's efficacious. One of the areas we use it in extensively is as an antibiotic. So it really has strong antibiotic properties. As a matter of fact, it has such strong antibiotic properties that so there's this thing that we call small intestinal bacterial overgrowth, which is a which is bacteria located in the wrong place.
Right.
So, for example, um, about 2 hours after we eat, so food goes from our mouths to our stomachs to our duodenums, and then from the duodenum, it's going to go to the major part of our small intestine, which is the jejunum and the ileum. It's about 22 feet long, and this is where the absorption of nutrients occurs. But right at that 2 hour mark, when it's the bolus of food is ready to enter this large tract, this large part of the intestine,
Right.
something kicks in called the migrating motor complex, which takes bacteria out of the small intestine and throws them into the colon so food can enter. And digestion will take another 4 hours where nutrients get absorbed, and then whatever is left over is actually a liquid soup. That liquid soup goes into the colon, and the colon takes water out of the liquid soup for hydration. And the inability of the colon to take that water out is what actually is diarrhea. But here's the crux. So a lot of times, in a lot of situations, the migrating motor complex isn't working, so bacteria remain in the small intestine.
Yeah.
So when food enters, those bacteria start munching on the food, and they create gases, bloating, constipation, diarrhea. All sorts of things happen because of it. And that issue creates what we call small intestinal bacterial overgrowth.
Uh
And
huh.
one of the treatments for it, we have an antibiotic treatment, prescription antibiotic, but also we have a natural treatment for it, which includes oil of oregano, because it can knock off those bacteria in that section of the small intestine. So it works, it's very, very effective. And so back to, because we're talking about the immune system. So what that's going to do in this particular situation, it's going to really help balance the microbiome, which is going to help balance the immune system. So
Right.
it's and this is how this is going to be of benefit. So it's a very oregano is a very popular herb. Well, I use it in cooking, but we also use it, and you showed it nicely. You can use it in liquids. The liquid can be strong. The capsules are stronger, obviously, so they're more
Right.
protected because it's strong. It can really knock things out. And you also had peppermint oil in there, and sometimes, and these are enteric coated peppermint oil. So this is a great product for gas and bloating.
Okay.
So this is one of my what I call a hit product. And so what it can do, it can scare the heck of bacteria out of the small intestine and throw them into the colon. That's what I say.
Yeah.
This is gonna scare the heck out of the bacteria. And so here's the case, but there's a trick to it. And the trick to it is that's in terracotta, which means that it will not break down in a acid environment, the stomach is a pH of 2 to 3. It'll break down in an alkaline environment.
Yeah.
The small intestine is 5 to 6. So once it gets there, that's what's released. But if your stomach is alkaline, it'll pop in the stomach and it won't work. So, and you'll burp it. So one of the
Uh-huh.
keys to this is make sure that it gets into the small intestine. And so you have to take it at the right time where your acid levels in the stomach are high enough. So I often tell people to take it with food and take two of these soft gels, and you will have a result the first time you take it if it gets down to the small intestine. Excellent product.
Amazing. I can go in any number of ways from here. I can ask five different questions from here. There's a lot of questions in my mind, but this is the peppermint oregano oil complex. I'm going to go back real quick. Folks, if you go to naturalfactors.com and up here at the top, you can see in the search bar, there's a little magnifying glass. You just click that and type in oregano and then just enter, and you'll get a list here of the three options, the three main options at Natural Factors. And then you can go from there. Like we have just standalone oregano, wild crafted with the minimum 80% carvacrol content. And then there's the peppermint oregano oil complex, which is more geared toward GI health, like Dr. Morello was just mentioning, enteric coated to be able to pass through the stomach's harsh acidic environment. So, and we pretty much, this is all the time we have for today, but oil of oregano, like you mentioned, a staple in the naturopathic world for SIBO treatment, highly effective in that regard. Lots of research behind oil of oregano, one of the oldest herbs in the planet, used in medicine. And
Yeah.
the carvacrol is the key ingredient in there, right, Dr. Morello? The carvacrol is
Yeah.
what's producing the benefits, the main immune system
Yes.
antibacterial effect, right?
Yeah. So one of the things always remember is that we have all these actives. So you want to isolate the active for the benefit that you want. But at the same time, because it's a natural product, they also keep other ingredients in there that have other benefits as well. So it's
Yeah,
not just pure isolation of one compound, it's standardizing of one compound. In other words, every time you get it, you're going to have this level of active ingredient, carvacrol. I
yeah,
mean,
yeah,
you're always going to get the same amount, which is really important because it standardizes. So every time
yeah.
you buy that product, you're going to get the same amount of active ingredients on top of all the other ingredients. And we think one of the things that that we're always talking about is we think that the bacteria of the gut actually act on some of these other ingredients and create other ingredients that have other benefits
Oh, yeah.
physiologically in the body, which is kind of interesting.
Interesting. Well, because the bacteria in our gut, they get fed and then they produce these post metabolites,
That's right.
postbiotic metabolites, which
Yeah, you
then
got it.
can have other effects in the body and on the immune system. So amazing. We can go for another 2 hours here, Dr. Morello and I
Yeah,
appreciate your time, my friend. We
yeah,
highlighted
absolutely.
the anti-V formula, the oil of oregano, as well as the one with peppermint combined with it. What would you leave our listeners with here today until we have you on next time in the new year? What's a
Yeah,
good take home here on immune
you
system
know, the
health?
good the good take home is that the body has an innate ability to heal itself if you give it the right environment. And one of the things that we're really pushing now is prevention. And so I think we can prevent some of these things that happen to us in the winter months by just, paying attention to our immune system. It's our defense system in our bodies. And we do have tools that can help us support that system. And this is why you'll have some people that don't you ever get sick? So
Right,
so that so there is a difference. Why is that? There's a reason why that is. And the reason is their immune system is more alert to viral attacks. And so I think this is one of the things you can do with these supplements. And taking the right supplements is pretty important. So not all supplements are created equal. So I think that's a
right.
really equal message.
Appreciate your time, Dr. Merrill. I know you're busy. Thank you so much for
Thank you
coming
so
on
much. Thanks
to
for having me
educate us
anytime.
and keep us
Take
in the
care.
loop.
All
Have a
right.
good
You
one, my
take care.
friend.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Naturalfactors.com, everybody. Naturalfactors.com.